there, chummers, and welcome to another Shadowrun review. And today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most fun source books of Shadowrun 2nd Edition, and that is Cyberpirates. So, what is Cyberpirates? Well, simply put, it's a game. It's a source book about pirates. So instead of being a Shadowrunner, instead of running your traditional Shadowrun campaign set in the midst of Seattle or Denver or pick another city somewhere, you can be a pirate. And you can sail the seven seas and rob ships for their booty and drink rum and all sorts of stuff. I mean, you can drink rum anyway, but this book helps you do it in style. Now, Cyberpirates, probably one of my favorite source books, without a doubt, for 2nd and 3rd edition. I mean, I did a Cyberpirates campaign in high school that was probably my longest running campaign that I've ever done. It was also one of the most fun campaigns that I've ever done. It was very, very awesome. There was actually one point where we had they had gotten a submarine of some kind, or were trying to take a submarine of some kind. Anyway, long story short, they got into a firefight with another pirate crew, and the runners were in a pretty bad way, and one of the runners decided to go ahead and try and patch everybody up in combat without any medical skill whatsoever, and, well, needless to say, he ended up botching a bunch of times and killed a couple of his fellow players. So it was a hoot and a half. I had a fun day that day. So the book starts out just talking about piracy in general, in a world of piracy. And the way they do it, well, it actually starts with a news report about a tanker being hijacked by a group of pirates, and I believe it was an Aztlan ship or something like that. It was an Aztlan ship, and it ends up going pretty badly. So the whole book is written much as a lot of books in 2nd edition are written. It's written from the point of view of several pirates that Captain Chaos has asked to tell everybody about the life so that people don't get killed and shit. The first section is just general piracy. So this is a world of piracy is the very first section. It just talks about what it takes to be a pirate in general, and how piracy works within the world economy, how smuggling works and things like that, and so on and so forth. Different types of crews and pirates that you'll find out there. And then it goes into specific regions. And the first region that it talks about are the swashbucklers of the Caribbean. And each region, the book talks about several different regions. It talks about the Caribbean, it talks about the Philippines, and the Golden Ivory Coasts over in Africa, and then it mentions, it has a brief section about long-haul piracy. So piracy in different oceans of the world that aren't covered. But each of the main areas that it covers has its own flavor to it. Now, the Caribbean swashbucklers, they're very flashy, very much focused on reputation and that sort of thing, and they're pretty much the classic idea of pirates. When anybody thinks of the word, swashbuckling, and that sort of thing. So, and you get that feeling throughout the swashbucklers section in this book. I mean, it's actually written by a pirate who has his own trid show called Cyberpirates, which is the name of the book, of course. And he talks about the life and how to get involved in it and what you can expect in the Caribbean and things like that. Also touches on some of the weird stuff in the Caribbean too, like the Vetus and the Awakening and how they affected that area. And it also goes into, where is it? A couple of different critters. This is actually one of the books that talks about the chupacabra as well. Let's see if I can find where it is. And it also mentions the Bermuda Triangle, of course. It's just a very big a very good section just detailing the Caribbean and the Carib Free League, or the Carib League, whatever the hell the country is called. The country, I say, it's a loose confederation of islands and stuff like that, but whatever it's called. It goes into the history of that whole area. And it also mentions some of the players and movers and shakers in the world. So, the Mafia, you've got the Batista and Gambino crime families, which are very, very common, or very recognizable for anybody who runs in Seattle and places like that. It mentions a couple of more powerful countries in in the area, like the New Republic of Cuba and that sort of thing. It also mentions some of the more powerful and flashier pirate crews as well. And it's just, again, very, very, very well written section. Then you go over to the Philippines, and the Philippines is actually the Philippines section is written by the Great Dragon Masaru. And what the Philippines focuses on the fight against the Japanese imperial state. So in Shadowrun at this time, the Japanese imperial state essentially controls the Philippines, like they control most of the Pacific area. And the pirates of the Philippines, they're pirates, but their piracy serves a purpose, and that is to liberate the Philippines from Japanese control. And again, this section is written by the Great Dragon Masaru. Or at least the first section of it is written by the Great Dragon Masaru, in which he is essentially declaring independence for the Philippines and that sort of thing. And it talks about how a Filipino becomes a pirate. The organization of the pirates, the biggest pirate group in the area, called the Hook. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Goes into different factions of it, how to join it, the training that you can expect, a history of the Philippines, and so on and so forth. And also just some general Sixth World knowledge about the Philippines as well. And some targets for piracy and things like that, such as Mitsuhama Computer Technologies and the Japanese themselves, Shiawase, and that sort of thing. It has a very different flavor from the Cyberpirates, or from the Caribbean section. The Caribbean section, you do get the sense that it's all about style, that it's all about rep, that it's all about being flashy and being the biggest and the best. Whereas in the Philippines, that sort of shit gets you killed because you draw attention to yourself. And there's several people several times make mention of that fact. Now, after the Philippines, it goes to yet another section of the world, and it goes over to the gold and ivory coasts of Africa and talks about how African piracy works. So you had, and again, it gives you another distinct flavor of piracy. So you had Caribbean piracy, flashy, very much focused on rep, be the best that you can be, and fame, fortune, glory, all that stuff. Then it talks about, the piracy in the Philippines, and that's all for the cause, all for the revolution, viva la revolution, and stick it to the man, and that sort of thing, down with the Japanese imperial state. Well, the Golden Ivory Coast, the main theme is piracy is done to survive. It makes no bones about the fact that the Golden Ivory Coasts of Africa are anything but golden ivory, and they are essentially really horrible places to live. So a lot of people in those areas turn to piracy in order to survive, in order to make money to feed themselves, to feed their families, and essentially pirates and pirate gangs band together to protect themselves from other pirates. And there's this sense that the pirates that are talking to you and telling you about the history of the Golden Ivory Coast and how piracy works in there, that they would sell you out for a couple hundred million. I mean, you really do get that sense in there. This sense of desperation and how life in Africa is really horrible, so piracy offers a means of a way out for the desperate, but more often than not, doesn't. More often than not, it just leads to a short and painful life. But again, very distinct forms of piracy. It also talks about some of the nations in that part of Africa, in particular, Asamando was always interesting to me. Asamando is essentially a nation, you might probably have heard of it. It's been in several Shadowrun supplements, but it's essentially a nation of ghouls, is what it is. I think in modern Shadowrun, it's less a nation of ghouls and more a nation of HMHVV infected, but at least in the Cyberpirates book, it makes mention of the fact that the entire nation is founded by ghouls, is very friendly to ghouls, and it's one of the only nations on Earth that is. And it's just it's a really good primer for if you want to run games set in Africa, piracy or not. I mean, there's enough information here that you could probably get away with running a traditional Shadowrun type game in one of these locations. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. There really is. So anyway, the rest of the book, of course, you get the prerequisite really cool color art section, just like you do in any other book that details a couple of scenes of piracy from throughout the regions in the book that are described in the book. But anyway, scrolling through all this, you get to long haul piracy and the pirate islands. So long haul piracy is worldwide piracy. So these are the people that they will spend months aboard ship. They will engage in piracy and smuggling throughout the world, the Arctic Circle, Australia, the Mediterranean, and that sort of thing. And it just kind of gives you a really good sense of what piracy is like just in the Sixth World in general. So if you want to run a long-haul piracy campaign, or if you want to send your pirates on a long-haul mission of some kind, this is a really good source of information on how to do that. And then it talks about Madagascar, which essentially is Pirate Island, is what it is. Madagascar has become essentially the equivalent of a post-apocalyptic hellscape, land without any laws or government or anything like that, and it's been taken over by pirates, and it's the place where a lot of long-haul pirates go to hide out or to sell their wares or get jobs or that sort of thing. So definitely is a really good, it's definitely a really good section because, again, it gives a lot of different information, especially about this place called the Haunted Forest, which is essentially the interior of Africa, said to be haunted by lemurs, the ghosts of lemurs that were killed by Vetus or something like that. But yeah, it's just a very, 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 very creepy area to be in, and it's written from the perspective of a lot of pirates who have had dealings or know people who have had dealings with the haunted forest inside the pirate island. And again, it gives you a lot of information if you want to throw something a little bit weird your pirate's way. Now, the next section, the cost of living on the sea, kind of goes into, and followed by game information, this goes into some of the pricing that people can expect to find when they're doing piracy for different items in different regions and things like that. Some items in some regions are worth more than they are in others, and that sort of thing. So, make of that what you will. Game information, it goes into, things like ship combat and creating a pirate character. There's new edges and flaws in there. All of this stuff is going to be out of date, of course, if you play anything past 3rd edition. Even in 3rd edition, it kind of is a little outdated. Not a whole lot, but it takes a little bit of work to fit it into a 3rd edition campaign. But even still, the book, again, like pretty much all 2nd and 3rd edition books, it's a great resource to have for background information and ideas. I mean, you could easily transplant all of this background information into a game of 4th, 5th, or 6th edition Shadowrun, without a doubt. So, again, I do this with most of the books, but Cyberpirates, definitely want to get it because of the fluff, because of the lore, because of the background in it. If you want to run a pirate campaign, you take the background that's given in this book, you take the fluff that's given in this book, you kind of meld it with your whichever rule set you want to use. Of course, if it's 4th or 5th or 6th edition, there's going to be a little bit of tweaking involved to kind of make anything work like that. But again, you can use this book in any edition, and you can run a very fun, very serviceable pirates campaign. Definitely would recommend picking it up. And that's the chip truth, chummers. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more Shadowrun content. Hit that notification bell so you will always know when I upload a brand new Shadowrun video, and until next time, remember to shoot straight and never, ever deal with a dragon.